Picture this scenario. You walk into the pristine, marble-floored lobby of a major commercial bank. You sit down across from a loan officer in a very expensive suit. You look him dead in the eye and say, "I have absolutely zero credit history. I have zero collateral. My current primary source of income is a part-time job folding shirts at the mall for minimum wage. I would like to borrow $100,000 unsecured to start a highly speculative business." The loan officer would laugh so hard he would probably require medical attention. Security would politely escort you out of the building before you could even finish your complimentary cup of lobby coffee. But what if you walk into that exact same bank with that exact same complete lack of financial history, and instead you say, "I would like to borrow $100,000 to read 16th century French literature for 4 years and live in a dorm with a communal bathroom?" Suddenly, the loan officer stops laughing. He smiles. He reaches into his desk, pulls out a legally binding contract, and slides a pen across the table. This is the absolute foundational absurdity of the American higher education system. It is the only sector of the global economy where we actively encourage children, literal teenagers whose prefrontal cortexes will not finish developing for another 7 years, to sign away their future financial freedom on a loan they do not mathematically understand. Welcome to the debt sentence. To understand how the United States created a $1.7 trillion economic black hole, you have to look at how we entirely redefined the concept of education. Education used to be viewed as a public good. It was infrastructure. Just like building roads or electrical grids, a society recognized that having a highly educated population was the best way to ensure national prosperity, innovation, and global dominance. But somewhere along the line, the system was hijacked. Higher education was transformed from a public utility into a hyper-capitalist consumer luxury product. And like all heavily financialized systems, it was designed to extract maximum value from the most vulnerable participants. The trap was set decades ago when the federal government decided to guarantee student loans. The idea sounded incredibly noble. Ensure that any kid, regardless of their family's wealth, could get a loan to go to college. The government told the banks, "If this kid defaults, we will pay you back." But the government fundamentally failed to understand basic human greed. The universities looked at this system and realized they had just been handed a magical, infinite money printer. If the government was guaranteeing that every single 18-year-old in the country had access to a blank check, why on earth would a university keep its prices low? They didn't. They immediately began jacking up tuition at a rate that mathematically defied gravity. Over the last 40 years, the cost of an American college degree has skyrocketed at nearly 5 times the rate of inflation. It outpaced the rising cost of housing. It outpaced the rising cost of medical care. Universities stopped acting like academic institutions and started acting like luxury resorts. They built massive, multi-million-dollar athletic complexes, lazy rivers, and luxury dining halls. They hired armies of bloated, 6-figure administrative staff whose only real job was to figure out how to climb higher on arbitrary national ranking lists to justify raising the tuition even more next year. And the 18-year-olds? They just kept signing the paperwork because society explicitly told them that if they did not get that piece of paper, their life would be a total, unmitigated failure. But here is where the trap snaps shut. Let's talk about bankruptcy. In the United States, if you take out a massive loan to open a restaurant and the restaurant fails, you can declare bankruptcy. The debt is wiped away, and you get a second chance. If you go to Las Vegas, put $50,000 on black and lose it all, you can declare bankruptcy. But if you take out a federal student loan at age 18, that debt is legally non-dischargeable. You cannot bankrupt your way out of it. It will follow you to the grave. The government will garnish your wages. They will seize your tax returns. They will literally dock your Social Security checks when you are 75 years old. It is an inescapable financial anchor tied around the neck of an entire generation. And the macroeconomic fallout of this is utterly catastrophic. We have a massive demographic of young adults who are graduating with the equivalent of a mortgage, but no house to show for it. They are delaying buying homes. They are not starting small businesses. They are not having children, because they physically cannot afford to. A massive chunk of the American GDP is being swallowed whole by loan servicers, simply collecting interest on a piece of paper. Now, I want you to look at a system that actually understands mathematics. Let us look at the economic powerhouse of Germany. If an American university administrator went to Germany and tried to explain their business model, the Germans would look at them like they were speaking a dead language. In Germany, public university tuition is free. And I do not mean heavily subsidized. I do not mean affordable. I mean it costs $0. In fact, it is so deeply ingrained in their legal and cultural philosophy that even international students from other countries can go to German universities for free. Why? Is it because the German government is just a collection of overly generous, bleeding heart philanthropists giving away free money? Absolutely not. It is because they are cold, calculating, and exceptionally good at economics. Germany recognizes a very simple truth. The brain of a citizen is the most valuable natural resource a country possesses. They do not have massive oil reserves or endless gold mines. Their economic survival relies entirely on engineering, innovation, manufacturing, and high-level services. If you want to build the best cars, the best medical equipment, and the best software in the world, you need an army of highly trained engineers, doctors, and scientists. Charging those people $100,000 just to get the training to build your country's economy is economically suicidal. To a German economist, charging a citizen for university is like charging a firefighter for the water they use to put out a burning building. It fundamentally misunderstands the purpose of the investment. The German system operates on a philosophy of national return on investment. Yes, the state pays the cost of the professors and the facilities up front, but what do they get in return? They get a 22-year-old graduate entering the workforce with exactly zero debt. That graduate immediately gets a job. Because they have no debt, they immediately start buying things. They rent a nice apartment. They buy a car. They go to restaurants. They start a family. They participate in the economy immediately, generating massive amounts of tax revenue that vastly outweighs the initial cost of their degree. The American system treats the student as a profit center to be squeezed. The German system treats the student as an engine to be fueled. We are currently running a massive multi-generational scam in the United States. We have convinced the population that crippling, inescapable debt is just a normal, necessary rite of passage into adulthood. We let hedge fund mentalities infiltrate our academic institutions, and we allowed corporate lobbyists to write the bankruptcy laws to ensure the banks never, ever lose. You cannot build a functioning, innovative society when the price of admission is a lifetime of financial servitude. The piece of paper on the wall is not worth the chains attached to it. I'm Norman, and I'm going to go see if my bank will give me 50 grand to study the economic impacts of crying in my car.